Hi, my name is Aya. You're watching Aya Reads, and if you're like, what is this girl doing again on my subscription feed? Hi, I'm back. I was in a giant reading slump, so I just started reading, and actually, this book got me out of my reading slump, which is not necessarily an indication for how I felt about it, but this will be a mostly non-spoiler vlog for Sweet Venom by Rina Kent, which is the second book in the Vipers trilogy by her. So the first part will be mostly non-spoiler, since this will not just be like a 2-minute vlog. I will be spoiling mildly, like some plot points, but no major spoilers. And I will be doing a separate spoiler section at the end, but I will let you know ahead of time, and it will be definitely clear when the spoilers start, so don't worry about that. I did do a similar vlog for the first book, which I'll leave linked for you, and I have an entire Rina Kent playlist. So if you want to know my thoughts on her Legacy of Gods, for example, then check out that playlist. So without further ado, let's cue to the vlog. So I've been slumping for the past 2 months, I'm pretty sure. So this is basically the first clip I'm filming in those months. Let me actually check how long it's been. Yeah, so I finished Mate on October 12th. That is when I filmed my review for it. And it's December 3rd now. So yeah, almost 2 months. I don't know. This year has just been weird for me. I've been slumping, but I knew good old Rina Kent would be the one to finally pull me out of my reading slump like she did the last time. Because the last time I was in a reading slump, Kiss the Villain actually pulled me out. So I started Sweet Venom right when it came out, yesterday actually, and I'm on page 164, and this is the second book in the Vipers series by her, and I actually already reviewed the first book. In that book, I basically explained a bit about Vancouver and about these 4 families involved in Vancouver, so if you want the explanation for that, watch that video, because that will go more into that side of things. This review I will not, because I don't want to rehash a lot of things. This book you follow Violet and Jude, and they have been pretty well set up in the first book. Jude is Kane's best friend and also in his hockey team, and they're basically family, and Violet is Dahlia's sister. And this book, actually where I'm at now, I don't know, I'm pretty sure there will be a time jump, but this book, where I'm at now, takes place before all the events of the first book. So that is interesting, an interesting way to set up the story. But of course, she had to, because of what was happening to Violet in the first book. Violet has had a horrible, horrible home life. Her mom was a prostitute, and she hated her daughter. Like, she definitely mentally, psychologically abused her. She treated her like she was the scum of the earth, and Violet definitely witnessed a lot of her mom having sex with her clients, which is another level of abuse, obviously. And at one point, her mom dies and she ends up in foster care, and that's where she meets Dahlia and where, you know, they become each other's family. Jude is one of these rich families. He is a Callahan, and they are in charge, or they control like anything having to do with hospital, the pharmaceutical industry, and anything related to that. He doesn't really have a good relationship with his father, and his relationship with his mom, who's dead, which I'll get into that, is a bit complicated. It seems like he does love her. Like, there are quotes in here. Let me see if I can find them. He describes his mother as being the only one who unconditionally loved him in a heartless world. So he did very much love his mom. And his mom, this all happens in the beginning of the book. His mom ends up dying because some man stabbed her. And there were a lot of witnesses to the crime. And Violet was one of them. She saw it happen and she didn't do anything. And now this is basically like a somewhat gender-bent mindfuck series. He basically has a list of all the people who were a part, like who witnessed the crime, and he has that list and he is hunting them all down and killing them. So of course Violet is also on his list. He starts stalking her with the intention of actually killing her, but while stalking her he realizes that there might be more to her than meets the eye. He is very intrigued with her because she's very beautiful, but she seems to hide herself away. And he also realizes that she is basically suicidal. He ends up reading her diaries where she makes it clear that she doesn't mind dying. The only reason that she doesn't, like that she hasn't actually committed suicide, is because she doesn't want to do that to her sister. So when he realizes that, he tells her, well, then I'm not going to give that to you. Your life is mine. So now you have to do whatever I say. So like he ends up, like he keeps stalking her. She really doesn't want anything to do with him, but she's also intrigued with him because he seems to be responsible for her developing these feelings, and these sexual feelings at that, because she always thought that because of the way she grew up and having to see her mom do all those things, she always thought that she might be asexual, and the few sexual experiences she did have weren't great for her. So yeah, like I said, she never really cared anything about sex, but when she and Jude start doing stuff together, she's surprised at her reactions. I am definitely liking this book, but I do have to say, I feel like Rina, in this book at least, doesn't do a very good job in the character development for me, because while I was reading this book, and it might be because of my slump, and if that's the case, then forgive me and let me know in the comments below, but I don't know, for example, what Violet is studying. I know she goes to school, but I don't know what she's majoring in or what she's actually studying. Whereas I felt like that was more clear in the first book for Dahlia. And on the one hand, it kind of makes sense because it seems like Violet is going through the motions. She's not really living. She's just basically doing what she's supposed to do to get through life, but doesn't seem like she's that passionate about anything except for helping people and being there for her sister. But I feel like usually with Rina Kent's books, and this is dual point of view, I have a more clear view of, you know, characters' hobbies, or at least if they're studying what they actually study. And same goes for Jude. I feel like the things I know about him, I know because Kane told us in his book. I don't really feel like his character is that well fleshed out, although I do feel like it's a bit better fleshed out than Violet's is, in my opinion, at least where I'm at now, but I'm already like over 30% of the way through. So that was an interesting observation for me, but her writing style is easy to fly through. Her sex scenes are great as always. And I do like the dynamic between Jude, Kane, and what's his name? And Preston. Yeah, I guess those are my thoughts for now. Oh yeah, and this, if you didn't know already, is a dark hockey romance. Jude is a hockey player. And what I do find interesting about this book as opposed to the first book was very much mired in like Vancouver and this, like it definitely read dark academia. Like it was set in this town, this rich, affluent town. And even though Dahlia wasn't rich, she did go to that school and she was pretty quickly immersed in that world. This book takes place in the town next to it, I guess. It's a much poorer town, and their team is actually the Wolves versus the Vipers. So they are rivals. So she actually works at a bar where people support the Wolves. So I did enjoy that at least the setting is different. It feels a bit more down to earth, this book, as opposed to most Rina Kent's books where everybody's filthy rich. And even though Dahlia wasn't rich either, I feel like in that book, since Dahlia was very much alone and that relationship developed a bit more quickly, she was quickly introduced and immersed into Kane's world. Whereas in this book, that's definitely not the case. It's Jude going to Violet's world as opposed to the other way around, at least where I'm at now. Obviously, I know because of the first book, and this takes place before it, I know what is going to happen with Violet. So that is in the back of my mind where I'm like, okay, so how is that gonna happen? What are we gonna see? I do enjoy that. I mean, I like in books where you kind of know where it's headed, yet you don't know how you're gonna get there. I do enjoy that. So I'm gonna continue chugging along. Right now it's Wednesday. Tomorrow I have a pretty long commute, so hopefully I'll get a lot read then. Also, I forgot to say, but I'm listening to this on audiobook, and of course Rina Kent always has some amazing audiobooks. So it's duet narrated, obviously. It's narrated by Teddy Hamilton, of course, and Mackenzie Cartwright. Did they narrate the first book too? No, they didn't. But they have narrated books before for Rina Kent. So yeah, like I said, I am enjoying it. I don't know if I remember in my first review of Beautiful Venom, I did say that I thought that I would love the second and third book more than the first book. If the book is going the way it's going now, that won't be the case for me. I don't know if it will get a very low rating. I don't think so, especially since, like, if this helps me get on my reading slump, which it seems to be doing, I cannot really give it a low rating, obviously. But so far, it's not heading that way, but I just don't know if I can give it a 5. So right now, while I'm reading it, it feels more of a book that's 4 stars, which of course, that's still good, that's fine. But I mean, we're only 30%, like almost 40% of the way through, so a lot can still happen in the last 60%. So I don't know if I'll update you before I finish it. I guess you'll know in a couple of seconds. All right, I'm back. I finished and things took a turn because I gave this book 2 stars. I am so sorry. Listen, if you really loved it and you don't want to hear any criticism for this book, then I would suggest you stop watching now, because I will let you know my thoughts and why I ended up giving it a 2 star. You know, nobody's forcing you to watch this, so please don't watch and then get angry at me. I mean, of course, it's okay to disagree. I can definitely understand if people would give it a higher rating, but for me, this just didn't work. So obviously, like I said, you can let me know in the comments if you really loved it, why you loved it, but please don't hate me because I didn't like it. So as you could see by my first update, let me just put this down. I'll have a picture here. So my first update was looking pretty good. Like, I knew that it would probably not be a 5-star read for me, but I was enjoying it enough. At that point, I didn't think it would get any lower than 4 stars, honestly, because I could imagine it going better than it did, honestly. And for me, what really happened was, so this book is basically split up into 2 parts, even though that is not very clear. If you read the first book, then you know what significant event I'm talking about. And I would say before that event happened, I was enjoying myself. Yes, I did have some criticism, which I talked about in the first part, but nothing major, nothing that dissuaded me from this book at all. But after that significant event, I just stopped really believing in the romance. I feel like she did not do a good job building this romance, because mostly what they were doing was having sex or not being together at all. She never really took time describing the softer, sweeter moments between them, which built the romance. And I get this is a dark romance, but they happened, we just didn't get to see it. And this book did one of my pet peeves, which is never showing those sweeter moments, but having one of the characters just offhandedly describing that it happened. That, to me, does not a romance make. And I would be fine with that if we got to see at least one scene with them having a date or just spending time together other than just fucking each other. And we never got that. So then you telling me will not make me instantly believe you or believe in this romance. So let me actually read out what she actually talked about, which this will not spoil anything considering it is a romance. In reality, Jude cares about me too. Not only does he have a bodyguard following me everywhere, which I think is a bit excessive, but he also buys me my favorite ginger ale, embroidery, supplies, and tons of books. I just hope he never, okay, so she talks about the books. She hopes that he never reads or judges them. And then besides that, Jude has been there for me all the time, even when we're sitting together and I embroider while he watches hockey on TV, when we eat together, when I fall asleep reading and he carries me to bed. It feels peaceful. Why couldn't we have gotten those scenes? Like, I would have loved a scene where she cooks specifically for him and they eat dinner together, or he's watching hockey and she's embroidering next to him, or they're together, she falls asleep on top of him, and we get a scene from his point of view where he carries her to bed. We never get those scenes, which then makes me not believe in this romance. That, alongside the fact that I feel like this heroine was so unbelievably passive. And on the one hand, it's explained because she seems to be depressed, although I feel like that also wasn't given the amount of time or weight it needed. I am very familiar with people being depressed. There's somebody in my life that is very near and dear to me who is depressed and has been my entire life. So I know, and I get it, not every depressed person is the same, but I feel like, I don't know, it felt like that was used to further the plot, and we never really delved into her trying to overcome that. It was always Jude who decided stuff for her, or other people who looked into stuff for her. She never really took agency over her own life. And even her going to therapy was also just mentioned briefly. We never actually got to see her really working on herself. That was always just mentioned offhandedly, and we never actually got to see that, which bothered me. So that made the character development she made, it just made it not believable for me. And the same for the friendships. Like, there's a moment where she seems to be developing a relationship between her and Preston. And yes, it ends up being explained why that is. But that also, while reading it, it came out of left field for me. I didn't understand why that was happening, especially given the way he treated her sister, who he knew longer, right? Yeah, I think he knew Dolly along. Anyway, doesn't matter. That also, like, I feel like a lot of things were happening. We were supposed to just get on board with it, and I never really did. Also, the plot was so convoluted for me. I feel like she jumped the shark one too many times, and I will talk more in detail in the spoiler section why I felt that way. But one part I can talk about is this felt like a watered down version of things she's already done, things I've already read about in The Legacy of Gods, and I'm sure in her other series. Preston, is his name Preston? Yeah, Preston felt like a clone of other characters we've gotten. I feel like Violet was very similar to other characters she's written about. I feel like Jude was also very similar to characters we've already read about. That, combined with the fact that we never really, like, the first book, one reason why I really loved that book, because I gave it 5 stars, was it felt different enough because we got this whole secret society thing. We really delved into that. We got these initiation scenes. It felt like something that was, yes, it had some similar plot beats and character, like the way the characters behave, because that is just par for the course for Rina Kent, I guess. But it felt different enough. But this felt like there was no real time spent on the whole secret society thing. The whole secret society became like a shell of what I thought it would be in the first book. So I also didn't really like that. Alongside that, I felt like the first book felt very much dark academia-like to me, and this one just didn't feel like, it felt like this could have taken place on the island in Legacy of Gods, and I wouldn't have noticed a thing. And going back, now that I'm talking about it, the reason, and I think I mentioned it in my first update, the reason why I liked those first 100 something pages was because Violet was living in like a poorer neighborhood. So that also felt different for me. Whereas after that one event, she also moves into, like, she joins the same college as her sister. She lives in the same neighborhood. So then we get back to like the glitz and glamour, which, yes, I guess that is one reason why people read Rina's books. But the first half of this book felt different because it took place in like somewhere completely different. So yes, I'm sad about that. The reason I still gave it 2 stars was, yes, it did pull me out of my reading slump. I can't deny that. Like, she has a very compulsively readable writing style. And even though at points I was still rolling my eyes, I was, like, with the plot things that were happening, I was still intrigued enough to want to know what was actually happening. And I did like, as much as I harped on the fact that I didn't really believe Jude and Violet, like, I didn't really believe in their romance, there were some moments where I was cheering for them. Like, Jude, as much as he reminds me a lot of other characters, what I did enjoy about his character was that, yes, even though he was stalking her and like an outsider would think, okay, he's obviously not treating her the best, when they were alone, he would in his own roundabout way, encourage her to stand up to him, to stand up for herself. And I did enjoy those. Like I said, I would have preferred it if she took more agency over that aspect. But I did like the fact that he was like, even though he went after her for nefarious reasons, that he would be the villain in her story, he ended up giving her voice back, which I did enjoy that aspect. So I guess those are my thoughts. Like I said, I obviously understand why people would enjoy this book, because yes, it does have similar plot beats of her other books. So in a way, it would feel like very comforting. And yes, I did obviously love those other books. So it wouldn't have been a stretch for me to also enjoy this book. And maybe my reading slump has something to do with it. But on the other hand, I don't think so, because I did genuinely enjoy the first half. So if it was just my reading slump, I also wouldn't have enjoyed that first half. And for somebody who's just coming out of a reading slump, I read this book in 5 days, and I could have read it a bit faster had those things didn't annoy me so much at the end. So yeah, those are my non-spoilery thoughts. Like I said, let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree, but please be respectful about it. Now getting into the spoiler section. So from this point forward, if you have not read this book and you don't want to be spoiled, then I'm going to say goodbye to you, and I want to thank you for watching. If you're still here, that means you are okay with getting spoilers. So what annoyed me the most in this book was the whole Julian thing. I knew Julian would get his book. I knew the third book would be Julian's book. So when he ended up dying, I never believed it. So I couldn't get sad for him dying. I couldn't get sad in the funeral scene. I honestly didn't give a fuck about that whole plot line, because I knew without a shadow of a doubt that he was gonna get his book in the third one, because she already said, like, it was very clear from the very first book that Julian and Marcus were gonna have their romance. And since this is a romance series, I never thought he actually died. So that whole last part of him dying, like I said, I didn't give a fuck. So none of that I cared about at all, which obviously also took me out of the story, because I knew all those emotions to me I didn't care about at all. So that also definitely, like, before that happened, I was thinking about giving this book a 3-star, but that whole plot line about him dying, I like I said, I just didn't believe it, because I knew he was gonna get his own book. So yeah, I didn't like that at all. Like, either, like, if she wanted to have that plot line, then she shouldn't have made it clear that he was gonna have his own book, or she shouldn't have that plot line and she should have figured out another way to get Violet to find out about her family. And I could give you a good way for her to do that, which would be to give her more agency over her life, because she never really tried to find out who was the person who was going after her. She just let it happen. And she basically was, like, she never took any steps finding out who was actually after her. So I think not having Julian die, but have Violet figure out who wanted to kill her, I think that would have solved most of my problems with this book. So yeah, that was really what put me over the edge and into 2-star territory here. So yeah. And let me actually, so I have the book here. Yeah. So I'm not lying, like, she says it at the end of the first book. What's next? The series continues with Sweet Venom, featuring Jude and Violet's story, and Tempting Venom, which follows Preston and Marcus. So that whole plot line with him dying made no sense, because I knew he was gonna have his own book with his own HEA. So she really, like, I'm so upset about that. Because that took, let me see how many pages. Yeah, so starting from page 363, so the last 100 pages, I was not feeling anything. I didn't care about anything. The plot didn't make any sense to me. I got taken right out of the story, because I knew he was gonna have his own book. So that was just annoying to me. Either, like I said, there were so many better ways to deal with it. Either don't announce that Preston was gonna have his own book, because yes, we as fans can speculate about people having their own book. If it's never confirmed by the author, then yes, characters can die, and technically we cannot really have any opinion about that. I mean, we could, but it wouldn't really be that valid. Or just don't do something like this, because you know, since you're, anyway, I don't want to repeat myself again. That would just annoyed me so much. So it was a 3-star, but after that whole plot line, I couldn't justify giving it a 3-star anymore. So that's why it's a 2 for me. Are there any other spoilers I wanted to mention? I think that's it. Okay, yeah, so those are my thoughts. I assume if you're still here, you've already read this book. So let me know all your thoughts. Do you agree with me on the whole Preston plot line or not? Leave all your thoughts down below. If you're down there, leave me a snake emoji for the vipers. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave me a like if you did. And thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.